and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have a Benu Euphoria Earl Grey tea. We have another Benu Euphoria Earl Grey tea. One's with a medium and one's with a broad nib. We have a Jinhao 1919. We have a Magna Carta MAG 600 in the Asure. We have a Magna Carta MAG 600 in the Obsidian. We have a Montblanc Writer's Edition Jules Verne. We have, and I need to get this one right, a Hongdian 8041 Qinghai Tibet Plateau. We have a Majohn, and this is the P138 piston filler. We have an Onoto, and this is the Charles Dickens Christmas Cow 2023 edition in silver trim and silver gilding. And then we have an Onoto, and this is the Flying Scotsman. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up. So this is a Benu Euphoria Earl Grey tea. I really do like the material here. I am a sucker for Earl Grey tea. It's the only tea that I drink nowadays. And I say nowadays, I think I was probably in my mid-20s when I switched to drinking Earl Grey tea. And that's like several decades ago, or more than several decades ago. But this is a beautiful pen. I like it a lot. It has tea leaves infused. I think it's Earl Grey tea. I hope it is. It's hard to know. It does have some blue lavender in, which Earl Grey tea does have as well. So I'm pretty sure it's Earl Grey tea. It just really makes me want to have the pen more. It's a nice, comfortable pen. It's a long pen. You can post that cap as well. It's just a really, really nice pen to write with. And this was sent to me by Bill, this one. This is the medium nib version, which I'm really enjoying. And prior to that, I bought a broad nib version from JUL. And again, the pattern will look different, but it looks somewhat similar. And again, so this one has a broad Schmidt nib on it, whereas the other one has a medium Schmidt nib. They're cartridge converters. You can post the cap there. And when I say cartridge converters, you can, if I unscrew that, you'll see that I've almost written this one dry. So I've probably got enough ink in there to be able to write with on this currently inked video. But probably will need to look at filling that pen back up again. And I do have a few bottles of Earl Grey tea from Dominant Industry. I'm just looking up. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I bought. And I've not gone through a full bottle yet. So that's an interesting one. Now, I have this Jinhao 1919 inked up. And these I really like. They're not expensive. They're inexpensive. They're about £10, €10, $10. You could probably get cheaper if you buy it direct from China rather than going through Amazon or eBay. But these are Montblanc 149 size. They have a number 8 size or number 9 size nib, effectively 8 or 9 size. I want to actually say that if you measured the width, it probably would be more of a 10 size. This is a really girthy pen. It's a cartridge converter, so you can see the converter there. But it's a very thick, chunky converter. So I think this holds probably at least double a regular converter, if not more. You can post the cap as well. I am really liking these, but it's a Chinese pen, and I don't want to put Chinese pens down, but nearly every Chinese pen that I buy, 80% of the time, I need to smooth the nib or floss the tines to make it right wetter. And I know I have a lot of friends that have also bought the Jinhao 1919s, and they say that they've not had any issues with them. It might be because I prefer a more wetter writing nib. This is I got these in a fine. I think that one is a medium. Um, I just find I have to modify the nib a lot more than I would any other nib. And a lot of nibs I don't even modify. So it's a little bit of a sort of a bitter sort of experience I find with those Chinese made pens. Maybe it is just me, I don't know, but interesting enough, I had a few other friends recently that also said that they had the same issue. So I think it's not just me, and I seem to recall Stephen Brown having similar issues. I can't remember if it was a 1919 or an X159, but I know he had similar issues. So I don't think it's just me. I think it's a lottery on what you're going to get, which is a shame. But if you teach yourself and learn how to smooth a nib to make it smoother, you also teach yourself how to floss the tines, to open the tines up, to make it write wetter, then it's not normally an issue. So ideally, if you can do that, that's great. The next pen inked up is a Magna Carta MAG 600, and I see that they've already started releasing a MAG 650, and I don't really know what the differences are. I've not tried to explore them. Some people I know are saying that it's more refined nib. I don't find a problem with this nib. I do love this stacked resin. I really am a fan of that. My gut feeling is that they released the MAG 600s with Goulet, and they may have agreed to only ship them with Goulet, and that might be why other retailers are now picking up MAG 650s, which maybe are the same, but just a different model number. So, and it doesn't actually, on the cap band here, it doesn't actually say MAG 600, it just says Magna Carta and then their logo. It does have, allegedly, a 14 karat gold nib, and I say allegedly. It's a very nice bouncy nib, a very vintage-esque bouncy wet noodle nib. The issue is that Magna Carta don't say that it's 14 karat gold on the nib. So that's why I say allegedly. It does have an ebonite feed, but there's no marking on there to say that it is a 14 karat gold nib. So it could be that it isn't 14 karat. It could be that it's only 9 karat and it's got more alloy to it. I don't know. These are cartridge converter pens that you can see there. But what I will say is that these, if you want a flex nib pen, these are not cheap. These are about $400. But if you want a flex nib pen and you want a nice looking pen, this really is a vintage flex or almost vintage flex. So I really, really do like that pen. I bought 2 of these up from Goulet at the time. I don't buy a lot from Goulet, and the main reason is that I get stung massively on income tax or import tax importing into the UK. So whatever the price of Goulet is, I have to add 25% plus probably about $70 in shipping. So it becomes quite painful. So I will buy from Goulet, but I only buy what at the time is Goulet exclusives. So there's no, I don't have any issue buying from Goulet other than I'm going to be paying a lot more for it. So I typically will, if I can get a pen in the UK or in Europe or elsewhere in USA where I'm not paying that import tax and duty, then I will buy it from somewhere else. But this is the Obsidian. This one is the Asure here, the blue. But the Obsidian is the black, and have to say I really, again, am liking it. But again, doesn't say 14 karat on the nib. Don't know why Magna Carta and Hiran didn't put that on there. It might have been an oversight. I don't know. What I do know is I do have, I think, 3 other Magna Carta pens, all in like 23 karat gold plating. None of them are hallmarked with an Indian hallmark. So again, like you have to wonder how much gold content there is. These pens really are not designed to be posted, unfortunately. But I do find, though, that they write very well and very close to vintage flex. So I do enjoy writing with them. It's a little bit more harder to write with because they are very flexible nibs. The next pen inked up is the Montblanc Writer's Edition Jules Verne. This is a pen from 2003. A beautiful, I think it's silver pen. It might be platinum, with this guilloche engraving and then enamel over the top. This lovely blue enamel. It's like a Fabergé egg, and very similar to the David Oscarson pens, very similar to the sterling silver Onoto British Museum Great Court pen that I have as well. Beautiful, beautiful enamel. You really can't fault it in any way. It's a heavy pen, hence why I think it's sterling silver. It might not be, though. I probably will have to see if I can find some other specs. It's got a lovely Jules Verne nib on there. This is the only writer's edition, I should say, that I can post a cap on. All the more modern ones from like the 2020s or 2015 upwards that I've seen and played with and have in my collection, you're not able to post those caps. So you can only do it on that, at least as far as I'm aware, on the Jules Verne. You might be able to do it on older writers editions as well, but that's the oldest one that I have in my collection now. The next pen here is really a knockoff or a clone of the Parker Around the World 120th anniversary, I think. This is called the Hongdian 8041 Qinghai Tibet Plateau. But it is very, very similar to that Parker in many, many ways. The gold cap, the engraving, although the engraving is a different pattern, the what would be a blue body, a dark blue on the Parker, is a little bit more of a purplish blue. It had a world etching on the Parker. This has Tibet. The clip is not Parker-esque, but it's very, very similar in terms of the design. Comes with a steel Hongdian nib there. It's a cartridge converter. You can post the cap. But I'm just trying to think. I think I paid about £40 for that. And I think the Parker is probably 180 times that price. So it's an almost knockoff clone, but it's a really nice pen. Again, with Chinese pens, the nibs I find don't write well. I did have to floss the tines. I did have to smooth the nib on this one, but it now writes very nicely. And likewise, the same with the Majohn P138 piston filling pen. Again, very tight tines, had to smooth the nib, had to floss the tines. This is a beautiful pen, though. It really, really is nice. You can actually screw the cap onto the end of the body there. You do have to ratchet it up a little bit to get it to line up. But this is, it's quite back-weighted at that point. But this is a nice pen, and I think this was selling for about 60 or 70, maybe $80. This was sent to me by a friend, Joe, and I did have to smooth the nib. I did have to floss the tines, but it's now one of my better writing nibs, and it is a steel nib as well. So it just goes to show that you can improve a nib. You could take a nib or a pen to a nibmeister and let them do it. I've learned and taught myself over the last 6 to 8 years how to do it. So I'm more au fait. I couldn't, if I had dropped a nib, I wouldn't be able to get it back straight perfectly, but I can tune a nib. And that's quite valuable in this community when you're buying a pen and it doesn't write as well. So you don't have to then send it back to the retailer. But you will void the warranty, so just be aware of that. This pen is an Onoto, and this is the Charles Dickens Christmas Carol 2023 edition. And this is in a lovely sort of tortoise amber resin, but then it also has this Christmas Carol type Charles Dickens work here. And this is in the silver trim and silver gilding. I did get one in gold trim and gold gilding, and this is lovely. And comes with a number 7 size Onoto medium 18 karat gold nib. I can post the cap as well. I'm now in dangerous territory here because Onoto last year brought out 2 versions, one in silver trim and silver gilding, and one in gold trim and gold gilding. And I reluctantly bought both, and I love both, but it now makes me wonder what they're going to do for 2024 Christmas. And am I going to be buying 2, or are they, depending on how well it sold last year, are they going to be doing like 3 or 4 colors? I really hope not, but I would love to see a red in this, which I know they did do. I think it was in 2020 or 2021, which long sold out because there were only like 20 or 21 of them made. But I would love to see a red in that again, like a deep, like burgundy maybe. And then the last pen inked up is the Onoto, and this is the Flying Scotsman. Really glad I picked this one up. I had looked at this and I had seen a prototype of this. I did get to play with it, but I decided not to buy it. And then one came up on eBay. I thought it was an 18 karat gold nib. It turned out it was a steel nib. So I didn't. I got it for a discount, but not as much of a discount as I thought. So this came with a broad nib, steel nib. It's a Yovo nib, but I'm really, really liking how this writes. So I will not be changing the nib and not upgrading it to an 18 karat gold nib. But I was. This is where you have to be careful. And I go through this cycle quite a bit where I can have like 2 weeks of really good sleep, and then I can have like 4 or 5 days of like only 2 or 3 hours sleep. And that's what happened here. And then I saw this Onoto and I bid on it, and I probably didn't read the description properly enough. There wasn't a nib photo either, so I kind of missed that it was a steel nib. But I really do like this pen. You can't post the cap, but this really, it is a nice pen. So I'm glad that I picked it up. I just need to be more careful when buying pens, or certainly going for auctions, making sure it's got the right nib on it. It's just one of those things, but I'm glad that I bought it. I probably could have got it for a similar price, though, through Onoto with a 18 karat gold nib if I had maybe bought a couple of pens. But yeah, it is what it is, unfortunately, and I'm loving that broad nib, so I'm happy. So there you have it. That's my 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think let's now go and do a writing sample. So the first pen I have inked up today is a Benu Euphoria Earl Grey tea. So this one was sent to me by Bill. So thanks again, Bill, for this. It's getting a lot of use. I'm really glad I wanted a medium nib, and I'm really glad that you offered to send me this for free. Beautiful writing nib. It couldn't have been any better. So thank you for that. This is the Benu Euphoria Earl Grey tea, and it's a medium, and it's a steel Schmidt nib, but I really do like how this writes. And then the ink in here is Diamine, Earl Grey tea, or Earl Grey actually. They don't put tea on the end of it. Not really sure why. Maybe it's just to avoid copyright. I don't know, or trademark maybe. The next pen is a Benu Euphoria Earl Grey tea again, but this is in a broad nib with a different ink. So we'll do an ink swatch here. But you can see it's a bright orangey ink, which I just liked to start with, but I warmed up to it now. So this is the Benu Euphoria Earl Grey tea. And it's a broad and it's a steel Schmidt nib. And then the ink in here is Dominant Industry. Earl Grey tea, which I now have 8 bottles of ink, that ink, 5 bottles. That's a lot of ink, although it's only 30 ml, so not too bad, I guess. Before getting that, I did ink this one up, which is a Jinhao 1919. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now this does have a medium nib. Quite a few of my Jinhao 1919s that I have only had a fine nib. And to be honest, I was actually quite liking this until Bill had offered to send me that Benu Euphoria. I probably should put Diamond Earl Grey in here, actually. What I was thinking of doing was cleaning this pen out with a broad nib and putting Diamond Earl Grey in it, and then putting the Dominant Industry Earl Grey tea into this one, which is obviously what I did do, but I didn't clean out this one because I found out that Bill was sending me another Earl Grey tea Benu. So this is a Jinhao 1919, and although I like how this writes, it doesn't write as nice as the Benu Euphoria Earl Grey tea. So this is a medium, which to be honest is more like I guess it is a medium, maybe a little bit more towards a Western fine perhaps, and it's a steel nib. It's a number 8 or number 9 size nib, and then the ink in here is Dominant Industry, and it's Earl Grey tea. But you can see how the broad and the medium look. I'd actually say that the medium looks a little bit more crisper than the broad, but I do like that the broad shows off the ink a little bit more. The next pen is the Magna Carta MAG 600 in the Asure. Now this is on the Goulet website. It has an S, which typically Americans use S instead of Z. In the UK, we use Z, although I've seen Magna Carta in India also use it with a Z. So this is a very bouncy nib. And when I say bouncy, look at that. That is insane to the amount of ink. This is a cartridge converter pen, and it really starts writing from about a fine, maybe an extra fine to a fine Western nib width. So this is the Magna Carta MAG 600 Flex. But you can see there, in theory, it's supposed to be a 14 karat gold nib. As I mentioned, though, there is no 14 karat or 585 on the nib engraved. So it's a little bit, is it or not? I don't know. The ink in here is Waterman Inspired Blue. And I really am liking that. But you're going to see that that is going to feather a lot, because this is Oxford optic paper. It's not Tomoe River. It's a decent fountain pen paper, but you put a lot of ink down and it will feather still. The next pen is the Magna Carta MAG 600 in the Obsidian. And we'll do a similar check here. So again, that is a huge difference. So it really is a flexible, vintage-esque wet noodle nib, and it bounces back really well. So this is the Magna Carta MAG 600, and again, it's the Flex 14 cat gold nib. But you can see I'm writing really fast, and that kept up quite nicely. Now, the ink in here, I have to check this myself because I'm not 100% sure. This is, okay, KWZ Grey Lux. And probably should realise because it is a very dark grey, almost black colour. But that is an interesting colour. But you're going to see by the end, you always see the blue is starting to feather quite a lot there. It is a very wet noodle nib. The next pen inked up is the Montblanc Writer's Edition, Jules Verne from 2003. We'll do an ink swatch here. And this is, again, a nice writing nib. So it's the Montblanc Jules Verne. I'll abbreviate it to that. Otherwise, if I put Writer's Edition in, I'm going to run out of space. It's a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is Waterman Inspired Blue, which at this moment in time is looking more lighter than the one in the MAG 600. But and it may be the case because depending on how wet the nib writes will determine how, in a lot of cases, dark the ink looks. The next pen here is the Hongdian, and this is the 8041 Qinghai Tibet Plateau. Now, I probably butchered the pronunciation of that, but we'll do an ink swatch here. And this one I've not written with for a while, so interesting that it is actually not hard starting, and it's got quite a sheening ink in there as well. So this is the Hongdian 8041 Qinghai. Yeah, it's starting to go a little bit there. Tibet Plateau. Yeah, it's starting to, and it is a medium still nib though. And I'm just going to check the converter. It might be out of ink. No, it's not. It's got a lot of ink there, but I'm just going to prime that feed a little bit just to make sure. Now, the ink in here is a sheening ink, so it's Ferris Wheel Press, and it is Tears of Sapphire, which is one of the smaller bottles. I've been gifted 2 bottles of Ferris Wheel Press ink from a friend. I don't buy the Ferris Wheel Press ink. I've not bought any other bottles. I do find it's quite expensive compared to how much you get. Compared to, it's really on close to Pilot Washizuku for me, which is about £30 a bottle. These are Ferris Wheel Press are normally 20 to 25, maybe even £30 a bottle, and you get probably half the ink, if not a third of the ink. So it's just why I've not bought that ink, but it's quite a nice sheening ink, this one. The next pen inked up is the, I want to say Hongdian, it's not. It's a Majohn P138 piston filler. I always want to say Hongdian. I don't know why, I just do. And it may be that they're all part of the same company in China, who knows. But this is the Majohn, which I believe used to be Moonman. So it's a P138 piston filler. And it's a medium, and it's a steel nib. It wrote dry, it wrote not as smooth as I wanted it to out of the box. This was actually gifted to me from a friend, Joe, and I did my nib tuning skills on it, and now it's actually one of my better writing nibs. I do need to look at what ink is in here, though. I should have actually realised it's Diamond Earl Grey tea. Or Earl Grey, actually, not tea. Although, actually, I could really do with an Earl Grey tea right now. So I think after I finish writing this and recording it, I'm going to probably have a nice cup of Earl Grey tea. The next pen inked up is the Onoto Charles Dickens, The Christmas Carol 2023 in silver gilding and silver trim. These pens become a bit of a mouthful in terms of the name. So we'll do an ink swatch here. I do like this. It is a wet writing nib. This is actually, I just want to double check this actually. I'm pretty sure this is an ink that I think that is normally dry. Now, I don't know if you can think what that ink would be. That's a 22, it's a 23 edition. Yeah, it is. So this is actually quite a nice wet nib. So this is the Onoto. I'm going to abbreviate it to Christmas Carol 2023. And it's a medium and it's an 18 karat gold nib. I'm just worried at how many new Onoto that might bring out for this Christmas. I hope it's either one or two, but we'll see, I guess. So the ink in here is KWZ Old Smoke, but because this is a really wet writing nib, it actually writes very wet. Even though KWZ Old Smoke is a little bit more of a drier ink. And then the last pen inked up this week is the Onoto Flying Scotsman. And notice it's not called the Flying Scotsman. There were multiple Flying Scotsmen. And over the years, it wasn't just a green engine box. It was actually blue and black through the war. So this is an Onoto Flying Scotsman. And I kind of like the blue one that they've also brought out as well. I might be partial to that in a steel broad nib. So this is a broad steel Yovo nib. And the ink in here is Diamond Meadow. I could just see myself. I don't think I'd go for the black version of the pen. But I could see myself going for the blue version of the pen, inking up with a blue ink. So that might be on the cards in the future. I'll have to think about it. I don't typically like to go with the same pen with different colours, but it's a special pen, so I might have to. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. We have a Benu Euphoria Earl Grey tea in a medium steel nib inked up with Diamond Earl Grey. We have a Benu Euphoria Earl Grey tea in a broad steel nib inked up with Dominant Industry Earl Grey tea. We have a Jinhao 1919 in a medium steel nib inked up with Dominant Industry Earl Grey tea. My palette is starting to become a little bit dry now, so I'm going to have to wet it with some Earl Grey tea, but not the ink. We have a Magna Carta MAG 600 flex nib, which allegedly is a 14 karat gold nib inked up with Waterman Inspired Blue. We have another Magna Carta MAG 600 flex in a 14 karat gold inked up with KWZ Grey Lux. We have a Montblanc Writer's Edition Jules Verne in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Waterman Inspired Blue. We have a Hongdian 8041 Qinghai Tibet Plateau in a medium steel nib inked up with Ferris Wheel Press Tears of Sapphire. We have a Majohn P138 piston filler in a medium steel nib inked up with Diamond Earl Grey, and there it is, it's the Earl Grey again. We have an Onoto Christmas Carol 2023 in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with KWZ Old Smoke. And then last but not least, we have an Onoto Flying Scotsman in a broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Meadow. And I am now gasping for a cup of Earl Grey tea. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video once I've had an Earl Grey tea. Bye-bye.